Never mind. We need a couple more minutes. My apologies.
Is my mic still live?
There you go.
Everyone, just to let the group know, we're going to delay here a couple of minutes while we sort out something. Sensitive. Good afternoon. The Development Review Commission is back in session. We now, Commissioner Reale, Commissioner Kiernan are now in attendance for the clerk to mark that. And for those of you that were not here this morning, if you are going to speak on an item today, you need to be sworn in. So if anyone was not sworn in this morning, please stand up and be sworn.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, our first afternoon item on today's agenda is agenda item number 6, which is case number 2539000004.
Good afternoon, Jordan Elmore, planner with the Planning Department Zoning Division. Subject property is located along 39th Avenue South at Grandview Park. The applicant is requesting denial of the appeal of a POD approval of a dock variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway. This property is zoned neighborhood suburban. It is a platted lot, platted in 1922 at a width of 15 feet. Over the years, some of these lots have been combined and split, among others. This is the original platted lot 4. This is the proposed dock. This dock is before you today because Pinellas County Water and Navigation are requiring the applicants to extend their dock out further than was previously approved. This was seen before the board in May of 2025 this year for the reduced setbacks for the tie poles to install a lift. The setback on the left side was approved through a setback waiver variance. They are going from previously a 60-foot-long dock, same width, to an 80-foot-long dock, and they're required to do this by the county to achieve the deepest water possible for that boat slip. So here are the setback requirements. It's a 5-foot minimum setback for the dock, 5 foot for the lift, because the lot is 20 feet or less in water frontage. Left side, they're proposing 0 feet, has already been approved. Right side is 11 feet, does not require a variance. Left and right side are 2 feet and 0 feet for the wet slip lift, which have already been approved. They're permitted 160 square foot maximum, which includes a 100 square foot walkway exemption. They're proposing 180, a difference of 20 square feet. And they are extending 80 feet from the mean high water line, where 41.5 feet is the maximum. So here's some photos of the area. That is one dock to be removed. Here's another one from the boat ramp. All right, this aerial is from 2024, and water lot 4 does not have an existing dock. Water lot 2 and 3 has one that is being removed. This is from 2023. I wanted you to see the dock to the far left. That is the furthest extent possible that the county will permit a dock. Once they receive a vote here at the DRC, it will require a county variance for the extension of the length that they are in support of. This graphic was from the county, so you can see that further red line, the solid red line, is the extent of the docks that they would allow in that area that would not cause an impact to the navigation or sediment. And then just a further out aerial, you can see that there is significant room for navigation beyond where the furthest point they would allow. Here are some of the previously approved docks in that area. The one on the left is for the slipped 1.5 of lot 2. The one on the right is for the half of lot 2 and lot 3. The one on the left is for water lot 6, 7, and then the one on the right is for water lot 8. So the proposed dock is consistent of what has been approved in the area, minimal walkway and a boat slip. We have no comment from Kona. The appellant, Mary Fran Arsenault, 442 39th Ave South, the owner of water lot 8, and Justin Matthews, who is the directly abutting owner to the right, is in objection to the site plan survey markers, stating that he does not believe that they are correct. Staff is recommending denial of the appeal of a POD approval of a variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway. That is my presentation. I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Kayla, could you go back to the aerial photo? It has a red line showing the extent. Keep going, please. There. Couple questions. In this photo, that dock that's to the far left with, like 3 boats to it,
Yep.
next to it, it's got the red line saying that's the maximum extension. What is that dock head feature that we're seeing that's beyond
That's
the
an
red line?
unpermitted floating dock.
That's a
So
what?
An unpermitted floating dock. So it
Okay,
should
so
not-
that is not allowed. That explains that. Is that a,
Yes, for like a personal watercraft, or it could be used as just a regular dock to stand, walk on.
so that can't be there? That's a code violation?
Correct.
Okay. Second question. Whenever we've dealt with docks in the past, there's never been any comment, this is highly unusual, where the county has said, no, you have to go further for deeper water. Why, in this case, is the county saying that? Is it due to seagrasses? Is there a reason? Because it sounds unusual.
So based on their emails, they want the docks to project out further so there's as deep of water as possible. And they are using the baseline of that first dock to your far left as the furthest extent that they would be approvable.
In all prior dock cases, there's never been any guarantees that you would get to navigable water. Has something changed with the county where they're saying, no, we want you to go out to a certain depth? Because it's contrary to what we've had for years when it comes to docks.
Yeah, I mean, typically we don't hear back from the county. Once we approve a dock permit, it goes to the county unless, you know, they do have to revise the length or shift it one way or another based on seagrass or anything like that. We really rarely have a situation where that change that the county requires is required to get a variance through us. So this is a unique lot, a unique situation requiring that.
Okay, no further. Thank you.
I have a question. Back to that red line, relative to that red line, where is the 80-foot dock located? I just like a dimension. Are we going beyond that red line with this variance, or are we right at the red line?
I think it's that area in
It will
green.
be at the red line or closer to shore.
Okay, so the one drawn there is the 80 feet, and it's within the allowable area per the county.
This one right here. 'Cause the shoreline cuts in.
Okay,
While the dock itself is longer, it may not project out as far as the dock on the far left.
okay, thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Next in this type of appeals case is the appellant. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 10 minutes.
Mary Frances Arsenault, and I'm at 442 39th Avenue South, St. Pete. And I live directly across from the docks and have owned this property since 2014. There's two variances, and I'm probably going to say the same thing for both. I was relieved a bit to see the schematic here today because I was concerned that these dock spaces at 80 feet would project into the waterway. That waterway gets very crowded during busy boating days. I think I sent some pictures along with my appeal that demonstrates what it looks like there. This is what it looks like now. It's very park-like. I consider these in-holdings in Grandview Park. I don't know, kind of zen kind of place. We'd like to see it keep this character. The one thing that was concerning is, of course, how far these dock spaces would go out. If they're not going to go out that far, that's great. But if they contain lifts, lifts are going to change the entire character of this little spot. And this is a picture down at Coffee Pot Bayou, which is about the closest you can get to comparison to what we have in Grandview Park. Granted, it's not so much in a park, it's on a sidewalk, people are walking back and forth, but this is the image that I see when I hear that they're going to put lifts on the end of these docks. It's very different than what's ever been there before, and these have been, since the turn of the century. The whole area that I live in, it's like a little island of old Florida. It would be a shame to see that change. And once they change, once the developers have their opportunity to do this, it will never be the same. And so my hope is to walk away from this. I'm not against them building a dock as long as it's within the character of what we have there now, which are just wooden docks with walkways and piling or tie pilings. It's the lifts that really make my stomach churn. And I'm hoping that maybe some contingencies can be put on the variances and the approvals of these docks to eliminate the lifts, keep them within the character that's there now, and definitely do not project into the waterway, which is it's a very thin waterway already. And as long as they keep within those guidelines, I'm good. But, you know, when you see 80 feet, as it sounds like some of you have already questioned too, it seems like that's pretty long. And if it keeps to the pictures, good, but I just want to make sure it does. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Any questions for the appellant? Okay, thank you. Next, the applicant can present.
I am Dan Moran. I'm the owner. I'm not the big bad developer. I own it personally. You guys saw me back in May when we were talking about.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, can you also state your address and confirm?
Oh, the address is going to be 39th Avenue South. It's going to be lot 4 of the boat dock down there.
And then you've been sworn.
Yes, I have.
Thank you.
Not the big bad developer, is my own personal dock. You guys seen me back in May. We actually had got it approved. It went to the county. I met with the county out there. They told me the situation. They wanted to go out a little farther. The boat dock that we're demoing right next door to it for another client that I'm representing, that our dock actually can go a little bit farther because of that red line. So we're in the guidelines of the county. I thought when it came back to the city, it was going to just be approved because we meet all the requirements. And then we had rejection on that. So I'm basically here to say that I support the county on their decision to build the dock. The lift, that's personal preference. I mean, you should not be able to restrict somebody for building a lift if they choose to do it in solar or if they choose to have Duke bring power to that location. But since it's my personal dock, I haven't decided which way I'm going to go. But that's kind of been approved in the last DRC. Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you. Do you have any blue cards?
Not for this case.
No blue cards, okay. So the next two phases are cross-examination and closing. So and the order is different. Cross-examination, staff, do you have any cross-examination questions?
Staff waves.
Okay, staff waves. Now the appellant, ma'am, do you have any cross-examination questions?
Yes. I was
Please come to the microphone.
Could Mr. Moran clarify exactly what his address is? Is that his residence address or the address of the dock that he's representing today?
Sir, can you come up and clarify your address, please?
I'm representing the dock that I actually owned at that address. I own that property.
Okay. Ma'am, do you have any other cross-examination questions?
Is this the dock space 2539000004? Can we look at that picture again?
The ones you submitted?
Well, either any of them would have the schematic.
Pull up my report.
Yeah, isn't this, okay, all right, so it's, because there's two cases that are similar, and I know one is owned by an LLC. So that must be this.
Yes, there'll be another case
next
after this
case.
one.
Okay, well then, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Now the applicant, do you have any cross-examination questions? He's indicating no. Yep. For closing remarks, city staff, do you have any closing remarks?
Staff waves.
And sir, do you want to make any, this time the applicant goes second, do you have any closing remarks? He's indicating no. And then ma'am, you have the opportunity to make closing remarks.
Again, I don't disagree that they shouldn't be able to build docks in this place. I just want to see some assurances that they're built consistent with the character of what we have now, because anything else is going to just transition this entire section of the bayou into something that's a whole different animal. And while Mr. Moran claims to own that dock, I've been told that maybe there's been some wheeling dealing to maybe transfer that dock to somebody else or sell it. He doesn't live there. He's only affiliated with it because he was part of the LLC's purchase of the property across the street. Then they severed the dock spaces, split them up, and he gained access to one, and the LLC retained the other. And so neither of the parties are living across the street like we do and using the docks as our personal property. Maybe he has plans to, but he certainly isn't co-located by his dock that he claims to own. And thank you so much. I really do appreciate your consideration of something that's going to change our life if it goes the way that they currently have planned. Thank you.
Thank you. No, sir. So now we go into executive session. Does any, I have a couple questions for staff, but I'll ask if the group has any.
Yeah, but you can go first one. I have a
Okay.
couple.
First question for staff, ownership. Is there any requirement for the dock ownership to be co-located with a residence?
There is not. You can see along Coffee Pot, there's a whole slew of water lots that do not have residents across the street from them.
Okay. Are roofs allowed on, I don't know what you would call it, covers, awnings, roofs allowed on lifts?
We do allow covers over a boat lift only. It has to meet a certain pitch requirement, no more than 1 foot of elevation per 20 feet of horizontal coverage. So essentially, it's a flat roof.
Okay. And then in the criteria in the code that you review when you're doing your application review, are there character guidelines that you review?
There are not. We're looking at the setbacks, the square footage, and the projection out into the waterway, how many boat lifts, slips there are.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any prohibition against building a lift there?
There is not.
Thank you.
Other questions for staff or in general? We can go to comments too. We are in executive session now.
Really quickly, what was the comment that you made, Jordan, about if a proposal exceeds that red line, it has to go back to the county for a variance, or is it? Yeah, I was a little confused by that comment.
What they have proposed now, because it is more than the 25% waterway encroachment, the county also requires a variance on their end, but they are in support of it. Nothing on the county's end would allow anything beyond that red line no matter what.
And that process, is that administrative variance as well, or will that go to the Board of County Commissioners?
I'm not sure how the county handles their variance process.
Yeah.
But again, as it's currently planned, it doesn't even come near the red line, does it? The green
Right.
outline you showed us in the one schematic.
It may be close, but it's not,
That's a poor
Yeah,
term. It does not exceed the red line.
correct, does not exceed the red line.
Do we have something in writing specifically from the county saying, hey, you have to go out to this distance? Because we had approved back in May, and he could have built that dock with lift as per that green outline on one of the aerials. I think we're all fine. It's approved, no problem. I haven't noticed anything specifically that says, we are not going to issue you a permit, this is from the county, unless you go to that red line.
I don't believe it is a requirement, it is a recommendation from them. And that, the attachment with the email correspondence with the county is where that was written in.
So they recommend it, but he doesn't have to do it.
As far as I'm aware, that is correct.
So we could stick with what was approved in May, and they'll issue it even though they recommend, hey, go a little bit further. Is that correct?
I believe so, but let me check with the applicant. He's the one that's been meeting.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Miguel Gongoro, and the address is going to be 39 Avenue South.
If
So-
you're a contractor.
Contractor, yes.
Yeah, so give
So-
your business address, please.
So which address?
Your business.
Oh, my personal address? Oh, 5325 Archstone Drive.
And you've been sworn?
Yes. So the reason the county wants to, they're not going to approve the permit if it doesn't go the 80 feet, because they've determined that a medium low water, there's not enough water depth for a boat to be stationed there. And if you're going to put a boat lift, it needs to be certain depth. So they want to push it out there, because if you don't push it out there, you won't be able to get your boat on the lift and lift it up. That's the reason why. So they require it. They will not approve the permit unless it's brought out to that water depth. I met with them out there. They did a site visit. They took all the measurements. We also even adjusted the dock so it wouldn't impact the mangroves. And they determined that we have to go that distance. Go ahead.
Do you have this in writing? Because again, this goes contrary to everything that we've heard on prior docs.
So I have emails from them telling me, this is what we were
They will
proposing.
not issue you.
They will not issue, no, they will not approve.
Forward in May.
Yeah, because exactly, yeah. Since the city has a 25% thing, the city has to approve it first, and then they're looking at the water depth. Once the city approves that, then they can be like, okay, now that the city is okay with you going the 80 feet, you're allowed to now get the permit from the county so that you can build your dock.
We have the exchange, the email exchange.
We got it there.
It is in writing?
Here, if you want, for discussion or?
Yeah, we're in executive session.
I guess my thought is a little bit more granular here. The appeal is, when I'm hearing from the appellant, is that she's okay with the length of it, and candidly, I am too. If that's what the county wants, that's what they want. They're the final arbiter of this, and it's certainly within the red line. And the concern seems to be with a lift being installed and maybe potentially a roof. And I understand Ms. Arsenault's concern. I live near a coffee pot. Some of them look better than others. I get that. But the code is what the code is. And if it allows a boat lift to be on there, and frankly, the requests on this are way less than we see a lot of times, I just don't see how the appeal survives because, and I understand Commissioner Flint's concerns or issues. It is unusual for the county to say that, but having said that, that's their call. It's within the red line, and the appellant doesn't seem to have a problem with the length of it or building the dock itself. It is the boat lift and what it may come with the lift. I appreciate that, but I don't see an issue in the code that does not allow that. So that's where I am on it.
Yeah, I mean, that was my line of questioning, which is, what's the character requirement? If we get into that, we're taking away property rights that other property owners in the city share in common. And the other thing I would say, and actually this is partially a question for staff, the way the county reviews these permits is actually their delegated authority. Is it from FDEP or is it from the Army Corps? There's some sort of authority delegation. Do you
I
know?
believe it goes through a few different reviews. The dock itself, and then they do the environmental assessment, which would be FDEP.
Well, I guess my question is more specific than that, though. Not all the permits have to be made, but there is some authority delegated. Does legal counsel know who the authority is delegated from? Is it FDEP or is it the Army Corps?
Yeah, it is the Army Corps.
Okay.
They go through the Army Corps, so we don't have to go through them.
So, I mean, it's sort of aside to my point. My point being that the county is the one that's making these determinations about the waterway. The city is making the determinations about the city's code. And so that's why I was asking the questions I was asking. We don't have anything in the city's code to control whether or not there's a lift or whether or not this is in character of the docks. Our question is, are we going to follow the county's guidance on where to put this? And the only purpose of this property, to me, seems to be to put a dock. So I'm inclined to follow the county's recommendation.
Isn't the other component of it exceeding the 25% width? And what we have here is we have a case from Mr. Moore and from May that he got approved on.
Mm-hmm.
Happy with it, no problem. So yeah, the dock, the lift, no problem. It's just, we do have the 25% rule that is a city issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just prefer, it'd be nice if they just get the permit for what was approved by this board before, but if they had that requirement, I'd be fine. If they're saying he has to get that 80 foot, yeah, he's allowed to have a lift.
I think Mr. Kiernan's point was just that the complaint seemed to be about the lift.
That's the appeal that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I think we have to weigh different,
Limited to that.
we have to weigh different factors, obviously, in considering that. What we're looking at is length and square footage, and that was not a request of the applicant. That was a requirement imposed onto the applicant from the county that has a different, that's looking at navigability and the environmental impacts. And I think that those, that requirement from them is valuable. And I don't see that length of, and square footage really outweigh that. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 foot wide. That's much more narrow than what we would normally consider.
yeah, it's modest enough, right?
Other comments?
I mean, I agree. I don't see that there's, typically the best practice is to follow the county's recommendation as that they're the experts in the navigable waterways, over this matter. So I think the process that staff has followed, seems appropriate in this case, and that's my opinion.
I'd like to make a motion.
So before you make your motion, let me remind the commission that this is an appeal. So an approval of the appeal denies the application, and denial of the appeal approves the application, just so we don't get confused.
Motion to approve the appeal of a POD approval of a variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway, subject to conditions of approval.
Kiernan?
No.
Blatt?
No.
Reale?
No.
Flint?
No.
Conroy?
No.
Battle
No.
Gonzalez?
No.
Motion for the appeal fails.
Okay, moving to item 7, which is case 2539000005 regarding the same property.
One moment, Jordan.
All right. Good afternoon. Jordan Elmore, planner with the Planning Department. This property is also located along 39th Avenue South at Grandview Park. The property for this case is the half of Lot 2 and Lot 3. There's an existing dock there, the white one, the second from the left. It will be demolished and replaced. The applicant is requesting denial of the appeal of a POD approval of a variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway. This lot is 22.5 feet, measured along the waterfront. Here is the proposed dock. Will extend 71 feet 9 inches from mean high water. It will extend 66 feet 9 inches from the seawall. This is what has been approved through a setback waiver. I believe it is 60 feet for this one. Proposed is 66 feet 9 inches from seawall. So the variance has already been approved for the left setback. The right setback meets for the dock. The left and right setback for the lift have already been approved through the setback waiver. The dock size proposed is 234 square feet, where 227.5 is the maximum. And they are extending 71.75 feet from mean high water, where 42.5 feet is the maximum. Same photos, the aerial. And just to point out, you can see that all other docks, except for the one on the very far right, are just a minimal walkway to access deeper water. The far right does have what appears to be a 12 by 12 head. There's the county graphic again with the red line showing the maximum extent. Here are the previous permits, all narrow walkways, no head. The one on the right is the dock at Lot 8, which appears to now have a 12 by 12 head at the end, which does not appear to be permitted. It was a walkway just as the others were approved. We had no comment from Kona and the appellant Mary Fran Arsenault at 442 39th Ave South. Staff recommends denial of the appeal of a POD approval of a variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway. One other quick note I wanted to add is another reason to support this. We looked at it because there is the mangrove island to the north of these water lots. Should not be developed likely we'll never have a dock off of that, so the length of this would be equal to if 2 docks across the waterway from each other extended to their maximum extent. Thank you. Here for questions.
Questions for staff?
Has staff ever considered doing any type of code on, I guess, the aesthetics or architecture of boat lifts?
In my time here, not that I'm aware, Corey, no.
Commissioner Flint?
There was a comment about how to power the lift. I know the roof pitch is, I think, 1 in 20
Yep.
for the cover. If they put in a solar panel to power the lift, is it subject to that same 1 in 20 pitch? Because essentially, that could be a very large item out there on these. I mean, would it be subject to the same rules?
I would say yes. When we do residential, single family, and they apply it to the roof, it's at the same pitch as the roof. So they're not sticking out at a different angle so that it doesn't create an aesthetic issue or exceed what is allowed by code.
Could they attach it to a separate pole at the end of the thing at a different angle? Just spitballing, what concerns would solar panels create on these? Because that's the biggest concern apparently in this, is just the large structures over water.
The criteria we talk about, it's an accessory equipment. Mostly it's on upland property, if it's in your backyard on the ground, it's shielded and screened, we don't have much concern. Like on the roofs, again, it follows the same pitch as the house. In this case, we would look at if it's tied to some kind of tie pole, the pole itself has to meet setbacks. And then potentially it could create a roof array, and now you're gonna be subject again to that pitch. Because it's not just like what you see like on the crosswalks, those little teeny solar panels that are inconspicuous and not really creating an issue, but yeah, if they're looking to create a large array, then it's gonna be a roof structure and it's gonna.
Treat it as similar to a roof structure.
Right.
Okay.
And not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but is there a limitation as to which direction those roofs shed? Because like in the case of solar, solar wants to aim south or west at a certain angle, but I know we're discussing things maybe that weren't even part of the request, but I'm just curious.
We don't. A flat roof, essentially that pitch is gonna be flat to where, it's not gonna be a huge impact or likely visible.
Okay. Nothing more from me.
Other questions for staff? Okay. Next up is the appellant's presentation. I know that you were just here, but we do need you to restate the same information for the record.
Mary Fran Arsenault at 442 39th Avenue South, St. Pete. Similarly to the Prager case, I have similar concerns about this one, and I see the outcome, so I'm anticipating a similar outcome. My husband and I obtained this dock in this area when we from Larry Munch in 2014. And since then, we've really grown to appreciate the neighborhood's, old Florida character. We're sorry to see the changes. It feels really much like the developers have descended upon us when they bought the lot across the street and they built a mega mansion, and I think they've had a really hard time trying to sell it because they overbuilt for the neighborhood, I think, and they really need to have this particular LLC needs this dock probably to incentivize a sale. It's rented now, which is unfortunate, but because we'd like to see families in the neighborhood. And Lakewood Elementary School has turned itself around. The whole neighborhood's turning itself around, and I guess change is inevitable, but it's sad to see it go. And I was hoping that the fact that these were in holdings in a park, they're small, they were never intended to have lifts and be mega docks because, back in the day, in the turn of the century, they were little boats. They didn't have the things that they have today. And there is no power, there is no water. It's gonna cost them a lot of money to do all this. You know, I don't know if it's gonna all pan out for them in the end. But it's just a sad state of affairs to see, you know, things that have been there for so long change. And we've seen that throughout St. Pete. I grew up here. I was born in Tampa. I grew up here. I went to high school at Lakewood High School. And my husband and I left in 1975 on an adventure to Alaska, and we decided to stay because we didn't really think there was anything left for us in St. Pete. And then we came back because we were always drawn here by its beauty, its history, its old Florida feel, and it still has quite a bit of that. And I'm just sad to see that it's probably not going to maintain in our little pocket of Florida, our little island of old Florida that we have come to enjoy. If they don't exceed the length that this county has specified, and I look at the schematic and it looks like it's reasonable, like there are docks that are close to that. As long as it doesn't, you know, and doesn't go beyond, I can deal with the length. I'm sad about the lifts. I get where the council is, you know, if it's permitted, it's permitted. I mean, we can't just stop something. And I was hoping maybe this group could have more influence than what the code says. You know, it's a book. It has no feeling. It says you've got a dock, you can put it, and you got space, and of course you've granted them the space because they needed to go wide. And I mean, I'm afraid that it's going to keep, that encroachment's going to keep pushing out, and everybody's going to be impacted. I don't know how that is going to impact us at this point, but I'm sure we'll have some impact along the way. Because if everybody gets pushed, they're going to push the next person. I do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. I mean, if I didn't do anything, nobody would know my story or my feelings or my husband's feelings or Justin's, who's not here today, but he had intended to come and express his same feelings because he bought into the neighborhood just, maybe, I don't even know when he bought in, but he has maintained the neighborhood. He's building a house across the street from his dock spaces. We are dock neighbors and neighbors. He's been a good neighbor. I can only hope that, and when I talked to Larry Munch about it today, who is who we bought our house and our lot from, Larry says, you know, I just knew that one day one guy was going to come in and change it all. And that's what's happened. So thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Yeah, ma'am, I have a quick question for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. And if you saw me smile, I saw Mr. Munch's name up there in a couple of the slides, and I know Mr. Munch and know the history and know that part.
So have I. Went to school with him.
A lot of folks did, yeah. Question, have you had any conversations with this gentleman about what he's going to build or your just concerns? Have you all had any conversations at all?
I received notice of the first variance request, and unfortunately, I did submit a response, but it didn't get here in time. It was after I think it was on day 31 versus 30, you know, I just missed it. And Jordan was very nice at the time. He told me at the time they were not going to approve the lifts.
My question, have you had any...
Him? No, because they don't live there.
Fair enough.
You know, they don't live there. You know, I never see them. You know, these are just people who come periodically and show up and go away. They're not present in the neighborhood. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, other questions? Thank you. Applicant? Again, name, address, and confirm you've been sworn.
Oh, I actually, I know, I'm representing him. Hi, my name's Dan Warren, 39th Avenue South, lot half of 2 and 3. I'm representing MRPC LLC. Same property, same boat slip. The issue I just wanted to say is I understand where she's coming from, but I want to also say that the boats that you see in the first slide, all those 3 boats and all that stuff, it took me 2.5 years to clean that mess up. No one was doing anything, so I understand her appreciation of looking at the water, but she looked at these boats for 2.5 years. Half sunk and this and that. So those all got cleaned up. So when you're making your recommendation on this dock, that little mess that there has been cleaned up. And I'm actually now going after code violations for the dock, that part of the dock that sunk, so we can get rid of that and get that fixed. So I do appreciate her her compassion for that environment. But being a Florida native, I look at it as I own this one personally. I'm representing the guy next door to me. He wants to do a dock for the house. The house is actually rented with an option to buy the house, so it's hooked into that. They're looking forward to the dock as well, and hopefully next we'll get the first dock cleaned up, because right now that's unsafe area. So that's all I have to say on that. Any questions?
For the agent? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any blue cards?
No.
No blue cards. Okay, we now go into the cross-examination phase. Staff, do you have any cross-examination questions?
F waves.
Ma'am, do you have any cross-examination questions? She's indicating no. No, I know. When I repeat that, I'm just making sure the record can hear it on the mic, so no problem there. Sir, do you have any cross-examination questions? Is that the applicant? No, okay, thank you. Staff, need closing remarks? Applicant, do you have any closing remarks? No, indicating no. And ma'am, do you have any closing remarks? No. No, she's indicating no. So we go into executive session. You know, I really appreciate the appellant expressing the concerns that she expressed, and I know that oftentimes our votes don't seem like we're taking that into account, but we also have a role where we protect the city, and the city is required to follow its code. Everyone has the same rights under that code, and if we deny those rights, it can carry the city up in litigation. And you know, I also, as she pointed out, I think this is a similar situation, and so you know, I don't know that there's any evidence here to change my vote but you know, seeing that we need a record for each of these items, I'll just point out that the code doesn't control character and the code allows the roof, and the code doesn't require, well, in this case, it's tied to the house across the street, but the ownership issue is not something that we can really make a decision on. The other thing too that I'll point out, and I don't know how this is helpful for the appellant, but you know, these are only 15-foot wide lots. I mean, this one, I guess, is part of another lot, but you know, the boats and coffee pots, some of them are quite grand. I don't know that there's going to be enough space for that here. So you know, I hope that we're talking about an incremental change and not necessarily the change is what you're comparing this to. Other comments or questions from the commission?
A follow-up, and I'd echo those comments, Chair, that Manny made the comment that the code, the book has no feeling, and that's absolutely true. That, you know, the term black letter of the law comes into mind, but the commission takes into account all your comments and your concerns. We understand them. I think it's pretty obvious how I'm going to vote on this. I would encourage, perhaps gratuitously, Mr. Moran to get with these folks and to have some discussions about what they plan to build. You aren't required to do that, sir. You can do whatever you want. But as a good neighbor, for what it's worth, I'd encourage you to do that. Your folks are going to be there for a long time. You're going to be side by side. You might want to try to work with each other, but that's just some friendly advice that carries no weight in this proceeding, but I think I would do that if I were you. Thank you, Chair.
I'm ready to make.
I think it was a really interesting question about whether or not the code does or potentially should take into account aesthetics, other architectural requirements, proportions, and materiality of docks. And so I think it's something that perhaps the city should consider visiting. But at this time, our job is to police the setbacks. And I guess, yeah, I have no other questions or anything. I think it's just an interesting proposition and something that should be looked into.
Okay, thank you.
Motion? Ready to make a motion?
Go ahead.
Make a motion for appeal of a POD approval of a variance to allow the installation of a dock that exceeds the maximum surface area and extends more than 25% of the width of the waterway, subject to staff conditions of approval.
And again, as with the last one, and for the audience's benefit, a no vote approves the application, a yes vote approves the appeal and denies the application.
Second.
Kiernan?
No.
Blatt?
No.
Reale,
No.
Flint,
No.
Conroy,
No.
Badalo,
No.
Gonzalez.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, the next case on the agenda, item 8, case number 2554000094. Staff. Oh, these are both appeals also, look at them. Didn't realize it went in that order today. Oh, I missed one of
I
these.
think it's all the appeals. We had to wait till.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I missed one, but
Oh.
I didn't.
All right, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Katrina Lunan Gordon, Planner 2 with the Zoning Division. I will be presenting case number 25-54000094, an appeal of a streamlined variance approval for the property located at 801 9th Avenue South. Oops. All right. Oh, that was supposed to be on. All right. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of 9th Avenue South and 8th Street South with a 12-foot alley located at the rear. It is within the National Register Historic Rosa Park neighborhood, and the city code requires sidewalks along all street frontages for new development or redevelopment in neighborhood traditional zoning districts. Apologize for the image. That is actually a video that will come up later. The applicant pursued the streamlined variance process for relief from the requirement to construct a sidewalk along the 8th Street South within the NT2 zoning district. The streamlined variance was intended for administrative approval, and the Historic Rosa Park Neighborhood Association has appealed the request, bringing us here today before the board. Current conditions show that the subject property has been redevelopment with a 2-story single-family residence, which is right there, and no sidewalk exists today along 8th Street South. Okay. I promise you, I checked my presentation before I came, and here we are. We'll just take it in. All right, so this is just a 1-minute video of me walking so that you can see the area. So this is going north off of 8th, where you can see there's no sidewalk, the tree, the light pole. And then you just keep going, and you can also see the retaining wall, the 3-foot approximately retaining wall that goes along. I feel like a video is worth 2,000 words. And then you can see the steps at the other end. And then that's the 12-foot alley where vehicles can only access. And then when you go further north, only pedestrians are able to access. Lucky for me, I was walking. And then you can see going down a set of steps down to Rosa Park. All right, awesome. All right. So the appellant cites 3 concerns: restoring a historic sidewalk alignment, supporting the neighborhood's traditional walkable character, and addressing safety concerns due to the narrow right-of-way. So these are just pictures during the construction that staff was able to go out and take pictures. So far, they have fixed the wall. You can see what the sidewalk looked like, the steps look like before. And at the other end, the northern end. All right. Staff reviewed the appeal and found several physical constraints that make sidewalk installation technically challenging and potentially damaging to historic and natural features. The right-of-way is substandard, approximately 30 feet, narrowing to 26 feet, where 50 feet is typically required for a local road. The elevation points slopes sharply, and the historic retaining wall sits within the constrained area. Installing a sidewalk must meet ADA standards, which would require substantial grading, construction of possible ramps and landings, and likely impact or compromise that retaining wall. A 50-inch grand live oak sits immediately adjacent to the right-of-way. The city arborist has stated that constructing a sidewalk at this location would significantly impact the critical root zone and likely require tree removal. The comprehensive plan emphasizes preservation of canopy trees and native vegetation. Staff could not confirm through available records that a sidewalk existed historically, although the existing steps, that's in red, show and suggests that one may have been present. Regardless, reconstruction of an ADA standard sidewalk would differ substantially from any historic configuration. And here's a zoomed in, and you can see where the 50-inch grand live oak in green. Both the Engineering and Capital Improvements Department and the Transportation Department reviewed this request and issued no objections. They noted that an accessible sidewalk cannot be achieved in this location without significant impacts to the retaining wall, the utilities, and the tree. In addition to those findings, staff reviewed the remaining variance criteria. The property is already in full residential use, and the variance allows the use to continue while preserving the historic retaining wall and the grand live oak with minimal deviation from the code. The request is also consistent with the comprehensive plan, including policies in the historic preservation element, the future land use element, and the conservation element, which emphasize protection of historic features, native vegetation, and tree canopy. While the NT district encourages pedestrian connections, those requirements apply where appropriate and feasible, and a sidewalk in this location is not feasible due to the ADA slope requirements and the resulting impacts to the retaining wall and the tree. Granting the variance upholds the historic and environmental intent of the LDRs and the comprehensive plan. So it's located in the historic Rosa Park Neighborhood Association, as they are the appellant. No comments were provided from Kona. Staff did receive phone calls, emails, and a meeting was also conducted, including some representative from the neighborhood associations, the applicant, and staff representatives from zoning, engineering, and transportation. Staff received today feedback from the state, the Bureau of Historic Preservation, that speaks towards them supporting the retaining of the historic grade and installing a new sidewalk and reusing or replacing in the historic stairs to maintain the historic grade. So in essence, how do I explain this? So in essence, again today, so I'm summarizing the email from today. So if staff was granted more time to conclude with the state, it's possible that a sidewalk could be installed at grade, leaving the historic retaining wall and of course preserving the tree. Okay. So today, their staff does recommend denial of the appeal and upholding the approval of the variance to remove the requirement to construct a sidewalk along 8th Street South.
Do we have a copy of that email?
Yeah.
We have it?
I do have it in the presentation, and I also have a copy here as well.
Can we pass that around?
I don't think we've seen it.
Yeah, just came in this afternoon.
Because I'm just kind of, first of all, loved the videos. I think that was good.
It helps, yeah.
I think I'm a little confused on what they're recommending from the state historical. Like, are they saying if you can keep the retaining wall and the stairs and build a sidewalk, you should do that?
Yes. Okay, so let's back it up. So today, with any new development, if you're to install a sidewalk, it has to meet PROAG, which is our public right-of-way requirements to have an ADA compliant sidewalk for everybody. All right, so because there's no sidewalk, put in one, ADA compliancy. However, there is a retaining wall, a historic retaining wall. It's located in a National Historic District as the Rosa Park. And so Derek was able to reach out to the state. We got feedback today, and that's the email. That pretty much, it doesn't quite conclude, but they would support not putting in an ADA compliant sidewalk because it will interrupt the retaining wall, and just install a sidewalk as is, connecting the stairs that are existing.
Okay.
What they didn't do was say that we could waive ADA or that you should waive ADA. They did not opine on that. They just said that they would be supportive of retaining the historic elements, and that as far as they were aware, there was nothing in the National Register guidelines that specifically spoke to being able to waive ADA requirements. That was the request we were asking, because the state is the representative of the Department of Interior for National Register districts in the state of Florida. So that's why we asked if there were a federal regulation for ADA. Was there some other federal guideline or regulation or rule related to National Register districts which we should be aware of and make this commission aware of? And the response is that no, there isn't. So at this time, we would recommend to just review based on our criteria related to the sidewalk characteristics for sidewalk variances.
In other words, if we were to put a sidewalk in, it has to be ADA compliant and follow our code.
That would be a discussion for at the permitting stage. So this is just for the variance request. It may be possible to be permitted at grade, but it's not a definitive answer from the state. That, again, would have to be a discussion with the various permitting departments of the city.
Heather, could we add that as a condition if the sidewalk was to be approved today, that whatever the historic state says that preempts, or that will be the final say?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Question, Katrina, help me, I think I know what it would look like. I went out and drove this, if I've got this right, across the street there's a sidewalk, correct?
Yes, in the front, yes.
It's been rebuilt and it's, if we put a sidewalk.
Oh, it has
Wait,
been-
I apologize, yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you speaking to the existing hex block that is in the
Yes,
front
the
of the existing? Yes, so it's reset, so they have fixed the hex block.
Yeah, fixed it.
Yes.
If we put a sidewalk in that has to be ADA compliant, what would that, assuming that's what we have to do, what would that look like?
I'm glad you've asked.
Because I'm envisioning going up these stairs, there'd be rails.
Correct, and I do
rails.
have a representative from engineering here that could speak towards the ADA compliance.
There we go.
Good day, Commission. So, thank you. It's a good question. And to give perspective, to really construct something that will be ADA compliant.
Sorry, we just need a complete record here, so can you?
British Bremen, Engineering Capital Improvements Director.
And you've been sworn?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Thank you. So to give perspective, the wall exists along the curb line. So to construct an ADA compliant section, what will happen would that historic wall will have to be removed. Then a new wall closer to the property line will have to be constructed. That will allow us to chase grade, if we may say, with the sidewalk and not have steps. Now we can do that maximum 1 to 12 for 50 feet, flat landing, then chase grade again. So essentially, we'll be removing a historic wall to construct a new wall to get that grade going. So let's say this is the wall here. This is the road.
And then the survey's up there.
Oh, man, I'm going to use a pointer. I like physical examples. All right, so that's the wall right here. That wall will have to be shifted in. And then the sidewalk could then be constructed along the curb line, going this way. So we can get a maximum of 1 to 12 grade for 50 feet, then a flat landing, 1 to 12 again. So, I mean, there's possibility that it could work, but it's going to require removing the historic wall here.
And, I mean, there is some grade indicated on this survey, and so the 115-foot lot depth, and it goes from 35-ish to 30-ish. Is that grade across the lot acceptable under ADA itself? I mean, actually, let me ask that question more pointed. Is that too much of a slope for ADA across the lot itself?
So that's where I'll lean towards the engineer as part of the design, because the road does have.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Going along. along this section as well. So basically, there's still possibility, but we'll still have to probably look at, would we need a switchback or not?
Again, that was gonna be my next question, because certainly there are places, I mean, we're a pretty flat city, but ADA is nationwide and it's not flat everywhere. How is this achieved in other places? It's with switchbacks?
So, and that's what we're looking for guidance on, because keep in mind that the PROAG only really came into effect in 2023, August of 2023. And that's the public right-of-way access guidelines. Before that, we had ADAG, which was primarily on the private, on back of curb property side. So the best practices we had were chase grade. Maintain your existing grade as best as possible when you're constructing. So you look at other examples, like San Francisco, and there are other areas, even regionally, that have these challenges, that have adapted more locally with the PROAG guidelines, and that's what we're looking to try to find. So based on the guidance that was received from the historic today, what we would be looking towards, I should have been speaking here, what we should be looking towards is guidance from our ADA coordinator, confirming that on the state level, that this is acceptable to still construct it, and it still gets that variance on the historic side. I would suggest that's the path forward if there's a possibility, because you are absolutely correct. Chasing grade, running switchbacks, it's not really the character of the neighborhood as well.
So to reorient us here, I do think we need to keep asking questions here of staff. Even though we're not in executive session, let's just continue to keep it to questions. I have more questions, but I think it'll involve legal and you. So do you have questions for engineering?
I had a question about the utilities. And so in the memorandum, there was a comment about interference with this hypothetical sidewalk, that there could be interference with the light.
Street light.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you quantify for us what that is? That removal and replacement of the light? Are we concerned about underground conduit, both?
Yeah, so because the light is installed 3.5 feet higher, that conduit on that section is 3 feet below grade. So it's essentially higher than the road, if we may think about it right now. So if we have to now switch that, move it across, that light pole now comes down to street level, adjacent to the sidewalk, or there may be possibility to keep it on the top level. Those are things that still need to be looked at by the applicant's design engineer. Because if it is that pole is coming down 3 feet down to grade to meet the coverage of the candlelight strength on the roadway, now your conduit that was essentially 6 inches above the roadway now has to be 3 feet below the roadway. So now we're running that new conduit for the street light. Good question. Yes, sir.
What is the minimum width for a pedestrian sidewalk required? Is it 4 feet?
Yeah, so you're allowed under PROAG to do neck downs at specific points. So if that light does come down, you can narrow it down to, I'll have to go back and check the specific reference, because I know it was around 40 to 48 inches. So you are allowed to neck down at that point, but not maintain that continuous width.
Could we go back to the overhead showing dimensions, please? I went and visited the site also, and there's a few things that stood out. The stairway at the southeast corner was in bad shape. They rebuilt it. You have the existing hex block. I understand.
Southeast or southwest, I'm sorry.
Southeast corner of the property, which would be the bottom left.
Okay, so the one that goes nowhere has been rebuilt.
Yeah, that one's been rebuilt. So you essentially have an ADA sidewalk coming from the west across the hex block. I know that new sidewalks have to meet ADA, but if you're not touching the hex block, essentially, you're not touching the stairways, if it then took a turn and stayed, because if you look at your property line is the solid bold running from right to left. It appears you have a significant amount of distance between the property line and the light pole, ballparking 6 feet. If you were to stay at grade along the surface, And then when you get to the northern portion of it, where you have that stairway there, that, yeah, it's an old stairway, it probably needs repairs. But look at the concrete block wall there. That concrete block wall is new, it's not the historic block. And that is a huge feature in this neighborhood, is that old retaining wall. Understand trying to maintain it. But what would be the possibility? You have, if that one stairway were to go away, you might start to be able to dive slightly below grade and ramp it out to the, essentially the alley to the north. You're not eliminating any of the historic wall because you have approximately, I don't know, 15, 20 feet of no retaining wall there.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you have vertical to make up somewhere here.
I'm sorry?
Keep in mind, you have vertical to make up. You're going from 29 to 32 feet, 31.9. So you can't ramp down that distance. So at some point from 32, well, the 29 that you're trying to tie into, you have to have that transition of a 1 to 12 max. So at that point, you know, you're right. You can probably keep the wall, but you'll end up with a wall on either side as you ramp up. And then you're going to have a wall as well on this side. Because you could basically take this and stretch it out as a ramp. You're correct. You could stretch it out as ramp, which will require another wall here. So there are multiple design scenarios.
If you were to ramp it all the way, starting at that alley, where would you come back to? Because at that point, you have concrete block wall, it says CB wall. So we're not affecting any of the historic retaining wall there. So we have some good distance there to make up some of that elevation change.
All right.
And I'm starting to get concerned that we may not have all the information we need here to see how feasible it is.
Right.
I'm kind of open. I don't want to eliminate any of the retaining wall, but how does it physically lay out if you were to build a ramp that doesn't affect the historic value?
Now, keep in mind, if
Would we have to, at that point, change the new stairway at the south end? We're not touching it.
well, again, that I would say that's all into the interpretation of the ADA coordinator. Is that now are you, what's your accessible route?
Well,
So-
and to confirm, because it goes along with what you're asking here, you're going from, when I asked the question about the 35 to 30, that's at the lot grade.
Correct.
And we're assuming that that slope somewhat matches the right-of-way grade. But if you leave the old retaining wall, you're going 35 to 20.
9 and change.
Well, all the way at the northeast
27.
corner is 27.
Correct.
So now you're talking. I mean, that's taller than me.
Yeah. That you're going exactly what I'm saying is that there's topo differences even on the roadway as opposed to the property. So I would say this definitely needs more topo shots, topography shots, to actually
Because we can't really
get
tell. We're guessing.
exactly.
Yeah.
There are multiple ways to look at the design scenario here.
But I'm going to have questions for you. I'm sorry.
I have a question too.
Please. For engineer or legal?
For engineer.
Okay.
What is the drop? I feel like I can't see the difference between the roadway and the top of the retaining wall. Is it over 30 inches?
And yes, it is.
So we would also require guardrails along there?
So if the wall, one solution, which I threw out there first, was if we actually, if we actually build a sidewalk here instead, we'll chase grade with the road. So we'll try to keep the drop off as minimum, but to your point, actually to both of your points, is that there may be instances, because we do not have all the topographic data for the entire roadway, and the road is parabolic both this way as well as laterally. So there may be instances that we can't keep a 6-inch curb while trying to still chase grade coming down. So yes, then you start to get into that 12-inch. Now, if there are possibility, if we keep that sidewalk 12 inches off the curb line, we could do a 1-to-1 slope on the side, on the green space. But if we have to keep it right next to the curb line, because we're limited on our wall widths for constructing that sidewalk, then at that point, yes, once we start to cross that 6-inch, then it's drop off, then we start to get into the railings. And then that goes back to the question, are the railings historic?
Thank you.
Okay. We do need to get to the appellant and the applicant, but I do have a legal question here. So this is all in the right of way. And so, as I understand it, right, even if it's on the builder of the lot, they do request a right-of-way application that the city would review and approve because it's work in the city's right-of-way. Can the city legally approve something that doesn't meet ADA?
That is what we're trying to ascertain with the state, and that was the answer that was not very conclusive, so then we have to default to.
That's what you were saying before?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay.
Chair, not knowing that, can we go forward?
Um,
And I'm not trying to circumvent this, I'm hearing a lot of
Well, I mean, we
topographical details, and now I'm hearing, and I understand the conundrum that legal faces.
Well, the question is the approval of a variance to remove the requirement of a sidewalk, just regardless of the ADA, they're asking to not construct it. So you can still make a decision on that based on the criteria for not installing a sidewalk, like we would do for any other similar situation request that we get usually once a month.
But if we approved the appeal.
If we approve the appeal,
We condition that because you may not be able to build it.
you can build it. It will just be highly technical.
All right, I'm gonna,
But also how
yeah.
does it affect that historic
Yeah.
retaining?
So we need to get back, I mean, we did a good job of keeping this to questions, but we do need to get back to procedure here. So we're going to finish with the presentation. So the appellant has 10 minutes, and then the applicant will follow with 10 minutes. Actually, while you're coming up, I have a question for staff. Is there anything, or not for staff, for legal, is there anything we have to confirm since it's a representative for the association? Do we affirm that they have the authority to speak? I just don't know if there are rules that we need to ask.
I'm sure that we can just ask how they represent the association, if they're a board member, a member authorized to speak.
Okay, thank you. All right, so please, name, address, confirm you've been sworn, and I'm going to preempt that question. Please confirm how you represent the association.
Yes, of course. My name is Domenico Ponturiero at 670 10th Avenue South, just steps away from the property in question. I represent the historic Rosa Park Neighborhood Association as a member of their board. Thank you so much for letting me speak. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to speak for a second. I have all this presentation prepared. And I want to thank Katrina for all the work that she did. You're saving me a lot of time. I thought I was going to have to explain all that context, and you did a great job. So thank you so much for doing that. This is our neighborhood, Historic Rosa Park. If you haven't been there, like Commissioner Flint has, I recommend you come visit us. It's a beautiful, unexpected hamlet in St. Pete. There's lots of topographical changes in elevation in the neighborhood, and which is what is presenting some of the complications we're talking about today. I love that I have a clicker here. So the property is at 801 9th Avenue South, and we're here to appeal the variance request to, quote, not install a required sidewalk for a new single-family residence. This is in the historic Rosa Park neighborhood. The historic Rosa Park neighborhood has both listed on the National Historic Register, and also has a boundary, a local designation protected by our local preservation efforts. So our ask is to restore the historic sidewalk between the two staircases. And I say restoration because there was a sidewalk that was possibly illegally removed in the past, we believe around 99, 2000. So it's been a while, and the neighborhood has been really waiting for development to happen here so that we can restore that sidewalk. So I've also taken some pictures, so you can see again the photo on the, I got a pointer here, don't I? Yeah. The photo on the left shows, this is a view from the south side facing north. The property's up here on the left. You can see the porta potty here that was set up by the construction crew. So this is the sidewalk that they've restored in the front of the house. And as you can see, this is the sidewalk along 8th Street that should continue down this street. And then here you can see a view from the north side of the property facing south with the stairs that currently just lead to some sod. And what we're asking for is a just straightforward solution to connect the south side stairs to the north side stairs to restore the sidewalk as it was and intended in its original design when the neighborhood was established almost 100 years ago today. This is actually a site survey that the developer sent us. Tony of Canopy Builders has been very gracious and has been communicating with us. He agrees that a straightforward sidewalk is the way to go. We've been in communication with them. They're lovely people. And so we are all in agreement on the solution here. I think it just comes to a matter of the logistics and the formalities to get it straightened out and allow this sidewalk to be constructed. Why a sidewalk is important, I just wanted to stress, because this is an appeal to forego the installation of a sidewalk. And so I felt like my job here today was to really talk about for a bit about why a sidewalk is important. It's important to Rosa Park, but important to Greater St. Pete as well. Walkability is important to us. It increases our quality of life by making our neighborhood more walkable. It increases pedestrian safety. And there's also a historical element that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. There was a sidewalk that originally existed. We believe that it was illegally removed by a previous owner. Rosa Park has extremely small roads. It's one of the first neighborhoods in St. Pete, and so the roads are very narrow, which causes limited maneuverability. So even today, if you're walking through the neighborhood, if you round this corner, which I do every single day, there are instances where cars are trying to maneuver and you're in the road and you have nowhere to go. And so a sidewalk is really important. And there's also, the neighborhood is very excited about something called the Looking Glass Initiative, which is an initiative by the Barquette group that's going to be developing just a few hundred feet away from this property. And we know that that'll increase traffic. And I have a slide here that shows, I drew this yellow line to show what some potential traffic pattern, right? The little pentagon here is where the property is. And so all these little boxes, these are all new retail stores that are going to be opening up here. So we're expecting some traffic to circulate through the neighborhood as people are trying to navigate in and out of the area. And so it is paramount that we maintain pedestrian safety as that development continues. And so now I want to talk about a little bit about the history. So the historic Rosa Park neighborhood was built about 100 years ago, around 1912, we want to say. Charles Rosa moved here in 1910. He started plans for development, and he broke ground in 1912. So this was constructed around what is called the City Beautiful movement. And the City Beautiful movement did incorporate into their designs terracing and stairs. It was part of that design, and that is considered something of historic value across the nation. And so it isn't uncommon to see stairs and terracing in these kinds of neighborhoods as you do in historic Rosa Park. So restoring the sidewalk as it was maintains that historic continuity. And I also want to point out there are many, many examples throughout the neighborhood of stairs taking you down to street level, and some are even recent. I mean, if you look at this is a domain home build on the right. You can see that has newly constructed stairs, just in recent history. And then on the far left, these are the stairs that will actually lead to the sidewalk that we're talking about today. So stairs and terracing and things like that, these are features that are consistent with the historic character of the neighborhood. So it is not unusual to come across stairs in our neighborhood. It would be unusual to come across railings and ramps and switchbacks, which is what would be required if we had to meet the guidelines that was spoken of earlier. Okay, now I want to speak a little bit about why the ramp is not feasible, as determined by the contractors that are working on the on the property. So, and this is taken from a memorandum from Tony from Canopy Builders. I took it straight from a memo that he sent to us and some of the people, folks at the city that are involved. So apparently there is a 7-foot elevation change over 115 feet. And so if you had a continuous slope from one end all the way to the other end, you would still not meet the requirement of the angle of slope for ADA compliance or PROAG compliance. So the ramp would require landings, railings, switchbacks, retaining walls, tree removals. It becomes more of an engineering feat than just a simple build, right? So it's more than that, than the developer signed up for when he purchased the property. So we're putting an undue burden on them to create something that nobody really wants, right? So a straightforward sidewalk between the stairs is feasible there because there was one there before. That was the original design of the neighborhood. That's why the retaining wall is there. And so that's why it does make sense. From my research with the Pedestrian Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidance and American with Disabilities Acts, which I've abbreviated up here, ADA requires accessibility to the maximum extent feasible. And so if there is no feasibility, the technical feasibility is limited, then stair-based solutions are allowed. I think removing a sidewalk completely limits accessibility far more than allowing a sidewalk that allows accessibility for most. So the preferred plan, again, I'm representing the Historic Rosa Park Neighborhood Association, is to restore the original sidewalk connecting the stairs. This would preserve the grand oak, the historic walls, walkability, and safety. So we're asking you to approve this appeal, deny the variance, and permit the historic sidewalk restoration without requiring a map. And I understand that perhaps some of this is beyond the purview of this group, but I think what we need to do here is provide the city with the time to sort things out. I don't want us to throw up our hands and say, this is too complicated, we're not building a sidewalk, nobody gets to get safe streets, right? So that's what I'm asking, to approve the appeal, deny the variance, and allow the city to figure out a way to make this sidewalk happen in a way that makes everybody happy in the neighborhood and provides a reasonable solution. So that's all I have. In matters like this that are complicated, right? There's kind of contrasting policies. I personally believe that it's best to ask the people that are most affected by what is going on, and so that's why I believe there are some residents here who live close to the property that are going to speak, and I'd like to yield the rest of my time to them. Thank you.
Questions for the...
So,
I do, and so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so you're saying the applicant who filed for the variance to not construct the sidewalk actually wants to construct the
Correct.
sidewalk?